We are
Our
live.
last,
We are live. We are live.
our final episode of the year.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
We're live. Final episode of the year. Oh shoot, hold on.
What just happened?
I had myself playing on YouTube in the background.
That's awesome.
Way to like freak yourself out.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. I wasn't sure.
I was
what
like, am I
was
hearing
happening.
things that are real? Okay. So this evening, I am drinking a festive pink bubbly.
Nice. Excellent.
Because I'm going to celebrate, damn it.
Good for you. Good for you. That's the spirit. So I am
So anyway.
Giant Mug.
Okay.
One of our local breweries, Flying Dog, has this thing that they do every year where they do a naughty and a nice, and you can mix them together to make a black and tan. So tonight, and the black is the nice is the holiday milk stout, and the naughty is an eggnog ale, and they're both delicious separately. So I'm going to find out how they are together, because I'm not celebrating 2016. I am going to see it off in a drunken stupor, to the best of my ability.
Awesome.
And I'm Derrick, and I'm having drinks with Amy.
Yeah. Like we do periodically.
Giant Mug. That is tasty. That is good.
And say that name of the brewery again.
Flying Dog. Flying Dog.
Flying Dog.
Flying Dog, like a dog that flies. Like they
As opposed
do.
to a flying stick.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Or any other kind of flying land-based mammal.
Thing.
Yeah. So, we're wrapping up the year. We're wrapping up 2016. We're
a little early, but
a little early, but honestly, not soon enough.
it really can't happen too soon.
Let's be very, very real here. We're not wrapping it up soon enough. 2016 can't end soon enough. So let's talk about what were some of your highlights of 2016? Because you had a very eventful year.
So I feel like a highlight. I think of something good.
Yeah.
So, and I've been thinking about this in preparation for tonight. What was 2016 the year of for me? Mm-hmm. I feel like 2016 year that I came to a new depth of honesty with myself.
Okay.
About myself.
Okay. Say more about that. In what ways?
So I mean, I strive to be fiercely honest with myself, but this year it's like I just got really awareness. What I was and was not willing to do. And that really created a lot of change. One thing was moving from San Francisco to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Because I decided that I was no longer with my family, and I was no longer willing to pay so much money in rent without any hope of ever buying property. that it was no longer, I was no longer willing to do work that I didn't absolutely love. And so that has really been this year. So I went full-time into spiritual direction. That was pretty huge. Moved to Kansas City. Didn't have to happen. I needed them to and worked for them to, and so those are a couple big highlights, I would say.
Yeah.
Just for me, like in my personal life.
Yeah, those are big deals.
Yeah. What about you?
Similar, but you know, I think really one of the highlights of my year was also around internal work. You know, I've spent most of this year un or underemployed. And for a person who has historically put so much of their worth and value in what their job is and what their title is and what their paycheck says and all those sorts of things, to really come to a place of being able to value myself and love myself away from a title, away from a job, away from what I'm producing, away from what I'm making, away from what I'm putting out into the world, was pretty big for me. And it's not that I still didn't put some good things out into the world. Obviously, I did. But I really feel like I redefined myself this year, and redefined myself sort of on the basis of saying, despite whatever I might produce for the marketplace, whatever that marketplace is, I have worth, I have value. I have things to contribute to the world, even if those things aren't a job, occupation. And that's been really big for me. Obviously, that's not a place where I don't want to stay in the realm of un or underemployed people, but I certainly have learned a lot about myself. I certainly have grown to have a lot more compassion for myself and a lot more just appreciation for my own self-worth and my own value, and to say that those things come from something deeper inside of me than what my job is and what my title is. So that's a hard lesson to learn, and I certainly wouldn't say that that's a lesson that I'm done learning. And certainly not a thing that I won't continue to trip up over from time to time. But yeah, I really do think that through all the challenges and trials of this year, I really have begun to gain a greater appreciation for where my worth comes from. So yeah.
Awesome.
It's a good thing, right?
Kind of your intrinsic value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's definitely a good thing. Thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's super countercultural.
Yeah, because everyone wants to put a price tag on your labor, you know.
Yeah. I mean, everything modified so much. extent that we value ourselves according to that.
Yeah. Which
is, to me, antithetical to Christianity.
Absolutely.
Because it's the message of Christ, at least in the way that I read the red letters in my Bible. It is. It is the message of Christ to say we all deserve certain things. We all deserve love. We all deserve healing. We all deserve to be taken care of. Our physical needs as well as our spiritual needs.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty powerful. What's Shannon doing?
Shannon, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Making lunches.
Okay. No, the mic's picking you up, that's all.
Sorry.
She's making lunches for the kids.
I'll stop.
I was just like, what is that noise?
No, it's that the mic is picking it up, so it sounds like she's like, I don't know, packing boxes, but she's just making the kids lunches.
Sounds like she's rearranging the cabinet or something.
Yeah, that's not what's happening. It's just the mic does some amplifying.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, so this has been just a kind of a weird year. Like, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, I don't think I know.
Yeah, I don't really know anybody.
Yeah, I don't think
this
or this year was boring, like no one's being able to say that. No one's able to say that this year was uneventful or that this year was mundane. I think for just about everyone.
Yeah, and so I'm really looking at how can I have my experience from this year and sort of distill certain learning from it that I can hold on to and then release the rest of it. Definitely experiences that I want to remember and want to remember the learning that came out of those experiences, and at the same time to release anything that's icky or extra or whatever from that as well.
Yeah. What do you see as some of the primary learnings that you're taking away from this year?
Again, just it comes back to limits and like needs, like getting really honest with myself about what I need in order, like the support materially and spiritually to be a spiritual leader. And to continue doing the work that I'm called to do. I really love my work as a spiritual director. At the same time, it would not necessarily be my top choice to be self-employed.
Sure.
So if anybody out there is like, oh, maybe I could be an agent for spiritual directors, like, yeah, please.
That's got to exist somewhere, right?
I mean, I don't know, maybe a bunch of us spiritual directors should just like form a collective and hire a salesperson and pay them a commission.
Yeah, that's not a terrible idea.
Then maybe if there were enough of us, we could be a group and we could qualify for group health insurance.
Right. And we could like have a union and,
Oh, it's so crazy that you mentioned that because I was actually just talking to some friends yesterday about the idea of a church workers union.
See, I think that's a great idea.
Like for clergy and church administrators and music directors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Primarily for the purpose of collective bargaining.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Ugh, wouldn't that be huge?
Like, I think it's crazy that the session of elders or the board of a church, the amount of a pastor's salary without anyone in that room being squarely on the side of the pastor.
Yeah. 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 Shannon just went through that yesterday.
Me, it's tragic. Yeah. It's just like, what? And then
it makes no sense at all.
Yeah, and then in the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, the pastors just lost all their health insurance for 2017.
Really? I hadn't heard.
Yeah, so in May, the Board of Pensions sent out an email that said, we're no longer providing health insurance starting January 1st, 2017.
Wow.
And so all of my disciples pastor friends are getting into either their spouses or the affordable care.
Right. Which
to be trying to get into affordable care right now with everything that's going on politically and the uncertainty of that whole system.
Oh, that's a
is like, if we can't take care of our own people, what are we doing?
Ugh, it's ridiculous.
I mean, like, in the disciples' faith, I'm kind of like, all right, we already have a priesthood of all believers. So if you're not going to take care of your pastors, like, just vote to not have a pastor.
Yeah. And step up and live with the consequences of that. Yeah.
At the same time, we all know what happens to a volunteer-run organization. Like,
yep.
It doesn't often go very far or get very far. So,
yeah.
I mean, I know that like the institutional church is in a bigger transition as it is, but it's like, it just feels like care and feeding of our leaders, ordained or not, needs to be a priority.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the folks that work on a day-to-day basis. They're writing the liturgies, writing the sermons, and printing the bulletins. And if you have nothing else, you have worship.
In the hospital and working, doing community organizing and doing all sorts of things. So.
Yeah, I mean, and pastoral care, sadly, is usually one of the first things to go.
Yep.
And a pastor's time is limited.
Yep. Yeah. Because people are concerned about Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and now that I'm in Kansas City, like, there's this really weird thing of, like, the attrition in progressive Christian churches plus just the exponential growth of the evangelical megachurches.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's really interesting to look at that side by side.
Yeah.
And it just hurts my heart.
Well, and it's hard because when you try to explain these circumstances to a lot of people just kind of in the culture, what they see as pastoral work is often the pastors of mega churches who are making ridiculous amounts of money, and they think, oh, this is what is all this complaining about? And that's just not the average pastor or church leader's experience. That's not where most of us are. Not by a long shot.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah, and so
it's hard to even explain that to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel like we've seen so, I mean, maybe you can help me with this. I've been kind of stumbling over what word to use for Christianity that has given rise to the Tea Party.
Mm-hmm.
Because on the one hand, yes, it's conservative. On the other hand, yes, it's fundamentalist. Yes, it's evangelical. But I feel like dominionist. The most appropriate word. Because there's this sort of takeover energy. Like there's definitely like an imperial sort of Christian empire energy.
Yeah.
On the level of, okay, we're going to take over now.
Yeah.
And you're going to join us doing what we say and believing what we say and not questioning any authority. It's like, come to church and turn off your brain.
Yeah. 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 Well, and it's imperialist. It's nationalist.
So I'm like trying to come up with like a word that, systemic or but that accurately describes this mentality.
Yeah. It's not Christian.
Huh?
It's not
What?
Christian. It's not Christian.
It's a Christianity that values the Abrahamic covenant over the new covenant of Christ.
Sure. I mean, it's hard to watch because there is this brand of Christianity that is so wed to American exceptionalism and American superiority that is it's void of compassion, and particularly void of compassion for those outside of the inner circle.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah. So I mean, xenophobic.
Yeah.
Is one.
Patriarchal.
But I feel like xenophobia, meaning fear of anything other than you.
Right.
I feel like xenophobia is intrinsic to colonization.
Yeah.
So maybe it's colonial Christianity.
Yeah. I think it's maybe neo-colonial would be the word. There we go. I think we just coined a word.
Neo-colonial? Well,
Yes.
I mean, but that suggests that there's a new wave of colonial Christianity. And to me, the newer movement within Christianity is the progressive movement, where the purpose is not to colonize other people, but to invite them into a dialogue and into sort of a deep spiritual discernment and study of biblical text in conversation with history, in conversation with the experience of the individual.
Yeah.
It's almost like a colonial Christianity has always existed.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And it's really only in the last 30 years that it has infiltrated the Republican Party.
Yes.
And become a plague within our government. Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that have come out of the election for me. And one of them is, it's just so clear to me how it's like the right has gone so far to the extreme that the Democratic platform is now really liberal when it's actually moderate.
Yes. Yes. It's actually very centrist.
Yeah, centrist. And so for us, as a more radical liberal person, it's not radical enough for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then when we add this level of Christianity to it, it's like, all right, I see people all over the place justifying their pro-life agenda with their Christianity. But somehow in the progressive community, if I bring my Christianity to justify my pro-choice stance, it's like shunned. And I just, like, I'm having a really hard time with that. I was recently, a couple weeks ago, I was part of an anti-racism training, and we talked all about intersectionality. And the one intersection that was not named was religion. Every other intersection was named. Race, sexuality, gender, socioeconomic status, economics, like all these different things were named, but religion was not named.
Interesting.
At the same time, liberation theology was the subtext of everything that was being said. So I was just a little bit frustrated I'm very frustrated that there seems to be this gap in sort of a public mainstream understanding of a progressive Christianity, of a social justice oriented Christianity. It's like that's something that existed in the past with Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
But the Christian voices that we hear from the mainstream media today are Glenn Beck, and who is actually now moderate. Whatever. How did that happen?
Up is down.
It's like we had this spectrum, and it was here, and now it's here. And so the center has swung to the right.
Yeah.
Which means, and I hate that it's called the right. Because it's sure not right.
It's sure as shit is not. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm also, another thing that's come out of this election is the way that those of us on the progressive end of things tear each other down.
Oh, yes.
Like, that's another form of colonization. This idea that there's one right way to be an activist, or there's one right way to express yourself as a social justice oriented person.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all have a different role to play based on our capacities and our gifts.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, I don't have to be all things to all people.
No.
And neither does anyone else. Like, if I'm too shy to call my senator, I need you to do it if you're comfortable doing that.
Right.
I will find something else to do. But if I am engaged in social justice to an extent that is harmful to me, I'm not going to be able to do that for very long.
Right. You're going to burn out and you're going to hurt yourself.
Like, I'm actually not engaged in the fight for LGBT rights because I have no privilege there because I'm LGBT.
Right.
So I am white. So I feel more called to work on the level of racial justice in an arena where I can use my privilege.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. So those are two of the things. And the third thing is that like I feel a real calling to call Tea Party Christians to accountability for their actions in accordance with the red letters in the Bible. Like, I don't care what theology has come out of different interpretations of the Bible over 2,000 years. When you read the red letters in your Bible, how can you read those words and then deny basic human rights?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you support corporate greed? How can you support the Dakota Access Pipeline? How can you support women having back alley abortions and risking their lives? Like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't hold up.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Anyway, that's kind of the note I'm ending 2016 on, I guess.
Yeah.
Is like a real desire for solutions. And again, like going back to my theme of 2016, which is what are my capacities and what are my limits? What are my needs? You know, to engage in social justice in a way that's sustainable for me. No matter what judgment is lobbed upon me by people who think they're doing it better than me.
Sure.
Or who think that I'm not doing it well enough.
Yeah.
There were a lot of activists who were born on November 9th.
Yeah.
And it is unfair to expect those people to already have a clear understanding of white privilege.
Yeah.
To already 6 weeks later have a clear understanding of their own white fragility. And to be able to engage in meaningful conversation with people of color about that.
Yeah.
Like, give some folks some time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point.
I mean, I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I still struggle with how to embody it and what words to use and what choices to make and all of those different things.
Yeah. Do you think anything, project a couple years into the future? Do you think anything will shape your reflection on 2016 more than the election?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, what?
Well, this was a really pivotal year for my marriage. She's going to kill me for saying this, but it's not just my limitations that I came into deeper acceptance of. It is also Carly's limitations that I have come into a deeper acceptance of this year. Really understanding the limitations of her disease. Diseases. And understanding there's limit and there's capacity, and they're not always the same. So a person's capacity for something is kind of the fullness with which they are able to engage in a particular thing or aspect of their life. And then limitation is sort of the place where the energy runs out, or the place where the knowledge or expertise runs out. And so you can be at capacity without reaching a limit.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So, Carly's been at a certain income level now for a couple of years. And I just came to this point where I was like, all right, that's clearly where you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of pushing you to earn more money and go to a place that's not comfortable spiritually in relationship to money because of where you are on your healing journey and your recovery journey, let's shift the circumstances of our lives so that there isn't a requirement. So that there isn't such a high financial requirement. So it's like honoring her capacity and then moving to a city where the requirements match that capacity better than where we were.
Sure.
And that's strictly on a financial level, really, because obviously on a social level, it's a trade-off because there's a lot less social limitation in San Francisco than there is here for an androgynous lesbian. Mm-hmm. So, there's a trade-off, but it's like the level of the capacity for being queer in a straight place was easier to embody than the capacity that at a certain level of income in an environment that required such a high level of income.
Yeah.
And just my ability to really see that and recognize that and advocate for it and make the choice. The best served all of that. I mean, that wasn't the only reason why we moved, obviously, but it's like deciding to move to Kansas City was based on my family being here, along with the lower cost of living. So the decision to move for me was largely about our earning potential and earning capacity in San Francisco in comparison to the earning requirement there. And then the decision to move to Kansas City specifically is rooted in the reality that my family's here. There's a lot of support here, and at the same time, the income requirement here is closer to our capacity to earn. Because we looked at a couple of other places and it just didn't add up. Like the math just didn't work.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I have started, I guess this year, one thing that developed for me was the practice of really identifying the full cost of living. So not just the economic cost of living, but the energetic, spiritual, emotional, physical cost of living. And finding the environments where the cost of living is minimal, not just financially, but also spiritually, emotionally, energetically, physically.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just that huge fire in Oakland, and it's like piling on top of each other in an unsafe environment is the cost of living as an artist in San Francisco and Oakland.
Yeah.
And that's too high. Your life is too high a price to pay.
Yeah.
No matter what. I mean, we're seeing that in Aleppo. We're seeing that all over the globe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really true. It's really true.
So, yeah. What about you? Is the election sort of the standout thing? Projecting yourself 2 years in the future and then looking back.
Maybe, but I think for me, I I think for me, what I will kind of look back on and say what was sort of defining in terms of something big shifted for me that changed the direction for me was really my interest and engagement in thinking about and acting around food justice. I think, while I was away from working, the place where I was having a place of producing and pride and whatever was in my garden, And by doing that, I got connected with a lot of people who were doing work around gardening, but then a lot of people were just doing work around food and food justice, and really understanding that the understanding of how much food is pretty much the ultimate place of intersectionality. Like issues of race and workers' rights and the environment and climate change and patriarchy and trade and international politics kind of all come together around issues of food. And then there's also the ability for fellowship and community to be built around food, and the ability for cultural exchange to happen around food. So as much as the election has, it feels like as much as the election took over the year, like kind of as a constant background noise, as kind of a constant soundtrack for the year. The real sort of melodic theme for me this year was around food and food justice and community gardening and things of that nature. And I mean, even now, I am like defiantly growing things in my house that are like, just kind of like saying, no, we don't want to grow because it's winter and it's super cold and it's dark. But I also like it's done so much. Again, it's done so much for my internal life too, though. To really understand that life works in cycles, that the earth has a fallow season, and so therefore we should too. We should have seasons of rest where we are less productive. We should have seasons of rejuvenation. And I'm just learning so much about how the earth, the things that we consider weeds are the things that soil needs. So like if something grows in a place, that's what the soil needs. And I feel like that's a wonderful metaphor for life. Like the things that so often pop up in our life are the things that we need. And so often we're trying to get rid of them and pull them up and poison them. And the fact of the matter is that's the very thing we need right now in our life. So all of that is to say that, I think that has been kind of a continuous rhythm throughout my life, or throughout this year. And I would say the other thing, and I think this show has come out of it, is just the I have a friend who is working on a book on improv as it connects to faith, and the golden. What's that?
Wait, am I ready? No.
Not yet. You should. The golden rule of improv is to say yes, right?
And
Yes, and. And
we tend to say, okay, but.
Yeah, and the golden rule of improv is to say yes, and I think, like we got together and kind of had this idea, and I was kind of like, yes, let's do it. And I think a lot of this year, hasn't been so much about pursuing things that have, ultimately led to like my next great calling. It's just been about saying yes to things as they've come up on the horizon, and that's a good way to live. It's a really good way to live. And I feel like it makes all of life feel more affirmative. So I think that's something else that has just kind of been a current that has flown throughout the year for me.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like on a larger level, so in terms of sort of phases of our cultural development, there was, and in terms of revolution,
Mm-hmm.
like the revolutions that we've seen, particularly in the realm of technology, like we had industrialization and the Industrial Revolution. And then we had this information age and this like leaps forward in the distribution of information.
Mm.
Information to flow from one point to another and through the air.
Yeah.
Right? I feel industrial era turned our bodies into machines.
Mm.
And this information age has disembodied us completely.
Mm.
And what I hope is next age.
Mm.
Turn back to all things organic, meaning all things of the earth, all things that are naturally occurring.
Mm.
To draw what wisdom we can from them, not only the wisdom on an energetic or spiritual level, but also the wisdom on a chemical level, on a medical level. There are fewer and fewer synthetics in our world. There are more and more green things and fleshy things, and that our main interactions are with organic material.
Mm.
One of my favorite pieces of writing ever speaks to this, actually. A guy named Peter Ainsley, who's a disciples theologian in the early 1900s. He gave a series of lectures to is it Yale Divinity School? Yeah, at Yale Divinity School. And he says that revolutions become necessary only when progress is impeded.
Mm.
They are abnormal conditions due to the arrest of progress.
Mm.
No revolution ever suddenly broke forth. Even the French Revolution appeared to have had back of it years of tardy growth, and had, as wise statesmanship controlled the affairs of France at the time as of England, for both countries were slaves to the feudal system, the disaster might have been averted.
Mm.
But the people's long pent-up desire for another day broke forth, and the doors of the Bastille went down before the cry of a populace who simply wanted freedom, fear of which fanned their cheeks while the bonds of serfdom held them fast. It was so in the Reformation of the 16th century. But that need not be so again. One of the mottos of scientific advance clearly expresses nature's law. Non facit saltus. Nature does not take leaps. Let the law of progress work, and its advance will be as gentle as the growth of the grass beneath our feet, or the appearing of the stars in the sky. Days of calm thought, for we are moving amid great crises. Flowers are growing and human sympathies are breaking out of their accustomed boundaries like opening petals out of the rosebud. A new atmosphere, new because it is another day. Yesterday was good enough for us when we were in it, but it is not good enough for us today to go back into it to live, unless the Roman Catholic oppression of the 16th century and the creedal slavery of the 18th century are better than the freedom of the 20th century. However, with those who prefer yesterday over today, I have no quarrel. But God is opening around us the pages of nature's commentary to remind us of the higher paths, where love is law and peace will be attained through Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Wow.
If that's not a prophet, I don't know what is.
Wow. Okay. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And yeah. And to say
So with that in mind, that lovely, lovely thought in mind, which it truly is.
one last thing.
Yeah, go for it.
The greatest hindrances today to Christian union is that the various communions have stuck their stakes somewhere in the past, maybe centuries ago, around the thoughts of their founders, as though those men, godly as they were as infallible as the writers of the New Testament. And the result is that every advance is made in the face of protests. Sometimes among us there is a disposition to quote what the fathers say as a rallying cry and a warning not to go beyond their thoughts and practices. But from whatever source it comes, it is an old story, old as the human race. Paul contended against it, as did Wycliffe, Copernicus, Galileo, Luther, Calvin, Milton, Wesley, and Campbell, and every soul that has dared to look out of its day into the morning of another has had to fight it. It is a violation of the principles of progress. The same progress that we see in the scriptures, the same progress that we see in the laws of nature, the same progress that is manifest in human thought. Right?
Mic drop.
Yeah, and it's 1913.
That's, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of timeless. Timeless. So, with those beautiful thoughts in mind.
Like that anymore.
I know, right? We need to work on this. Like, we need to work on this.
I have words. I have the best words. Like, come on.
That doesn't inspire you? Is that what you're saying?
Nope.
So, in light of that, in light of all that, how do you want to live in 2017?
I want to live outside the confines of colonialism. I want to be able to identify the ways that I myself have internalized certain external authorities and to dig deep beyond that to discover and uncover and express my internal authority. And I'm committed to teaching other peoples to do the same thing. To be able to identify what thoughts in their heads are coming from external judgment, external criticism that has over time become internalized, so that the voice in their head sounds like their own voice, but it is not speaking in their best interest. To be able to detach and disengage from those voices and to listen more clearly for the divine information that is also there, in accordance with that divine information. That's the essence of my ministry. And when you talk about yes and, you talk about improvisation, that is essential to the process of being able to say yes to ourselves, to say yes to our own information, and to make an informed choice that honors that information, that experience.
I like it.
That's how we get free.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah. How about you?
I want to live courageously in 2017. I am keenly aware of how much fear has corrupted not only my decision making, but just the decision making of communities, of countries, of churches. But I think we change that. We change the fearful nature of the people around us by living our own lives courageously. Living, that kind of goes along with what you're saying. It's hearing my own internal wisdom and an internal truth and living into it courageously because it is mine and because it is divine and God-given. And so for me, and to be courageous, and I think especially to be courageous now, means to be assertive in some places where I'm not usually assertive. I think that it means that, just as a for instance, I think so often, the way that the internet and social media works, so often we give certain trolling voices a pass because, they're just being a troll. And we have to be more courageous in speaking up to those things, because those things, I think we're seeing now, they have real world consequences. People are hurt by people's thoughtless careless, compassionless words. And so we have to speak up. And we have to take risks on behalf of the vulnerable. We have to take risks on behalf of the endangered. We have to stand in between the powerful and the powerless, and we have to do so more consciously and more intentionally. So for me, 2017 is a year that I want to live courageously into the knowledge of who I am and what I have to offer and what the world needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know that courage lives in the place where I can also acknowledge my fear.
Absolutely.
So, you mentioned courage, and I'm like, courage is a balancing act. It's a balancing act between fear and love.
Yeah.
In my spiritual direction practice, it is never my intention to eradicate fear. Fear can actually be very helpful. And it is a beautiful spiritual practice to be able to have and see and acknowledge fear while at the same time acknowledging and feeling the love that is also always there. So when you say courage, to me, it strikes this balance between fear and love. Like, I see you, fear, I see you. And I'm going to do this other thing.
Yeah.
Because you're not in charge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's a small thing.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Why shoot for small things, right?
I know.
So,
what do you want for Christmas, Derrick?
What do I want for Christmas? World peace.
You really want that you're like, maybe I'll get this and it'd be the best. The best.
I would like world peace.
Like, is there something that you could maybe get for Christmas that you could hold in your hand in 2017 and go, yes, I am loved?
So I asked for a really nice bottle of scotch. Because that's who I am. Yes, and if I get that, I will open the 2017 Drinks with Amy, celebrating with my music.
Bam.
So we'll see what Santa does for me. How about you?
Things that I know I'll be getting that I want because I'm married to someone who can't keep a secret. But beyond of the things that I don't know whether or not I will get, that I definitely asked for, couple new sweaters. Because it's really cold here. Really nice to have a couple extra sweaters that I could wear to stay warm.
There you go. That is very practical. Yeah.
I will say that a dry 20 degrees in Kansas City is about the same as a damp 40 degrees in San Francisco.
Yes, absolutely.
I've learned.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The trade-off is static electricity, however.
Good point.
I didn't have that in the Bay. They have it now. Like, as I was brushing my hair to get ready for this it was like, woo, it was static. And I was like, what am I going to do? So when we come back in January, if my hair looks like I'm stuck my hand in the light socket, you'll know why.
That's okay.
I've heard the dryer sheets help.
They do. They really, really do. They're very helpful. So maybe ask Santa for those.
Yeah, some that aren't too smelly, because a lot of them are really smelly.
Some of them are. Some of them smell nice though. So just throw it out there.
Yeah. So you and I haven't really talked about when we're coming back.
Oh yeah. January.
On air.
What's that?
There's right here on air.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? So the first Wednesday is the 4th. The second Wednesday, which is the 11th.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 11th. How about you?
So if we do the 11th, I'm okay with the 11th. I might be in Texas, but that's okay. I can do it from Texas.
We'd be in the same time zone.
We'd be in the same time zone. That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. We've never done it in the same time zone before.
I know.
So that'd be fun. The 11th sounds good.
Have Wi-Fi there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't be in a part of Texas without Wi-Fi. I'm sure there are parts of Texas without Wi-Fi, but I won't be in them.
But been in the mountains before, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we made that work. That totally worked.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't get great Wi-Fi, so whatever.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
That sounds great. So January 11th.
January 11th. Sounds good. We'll be back.
We'll be back January 11th, and that is to be announced.
Mm-hmm.
And until then, everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a Happy Hanukkah and a Happy Kwanzaa and whatever, et cetera.
Whatever it is you celebrate. Happy
Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Yes,
I don't know.
That's it.
And if I could sing, I would sing us out with some sort of Christmas carol. But I'm not going to.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
It'd be some fake opera.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Awesome. All right. Well, have an excellent Christmas. Do you get to see your kids?
Absolutely. Have them here from Christmas to New Year's, and it'll be awesome. So much fun.
Sweet. Well, I expect to see plenty on Facebook about that.
Oh, you will. You definitely will.
Because they're super cute.
They kind of are, yeah.
I think that 2017 needs more pets and kids.
Well, I there won't be more pets and kids.
I just think maybe it's just Facebook newsfeed needs more cute kids and cute animals.
Yeah, I can have more pictures of the kids and more pictures of the pets, but not more pets and not more kids.
That is a good distinction. That's what I mean.
All right, good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we should wrap this up.
Right. We will be back January 11th. If you need a spiritual director, you know who to talk to.
That's right.
Derrick and I are the best.
We're pretty good. All right. Bye.
Awesome. Merry Christmas. Goodbye to 2016.
Bye 2016.
Bye.